Konnichiwa, minasan. So my talk is called The Origamist's Ruby, and we're going to get started. So first, who am I? I am Matthew Goose Mongeau. Goose is my nickname. You can find me on GitHub with Halogen and Toast, and my Twitter handle is Halogen and Toast. So if you see that guy, that's me. I work for ThoughtBot. We're a web consultancy in Boston where we work on open source and do a lot of training. I happen to be one of the instructors at ThoughtBot, so I do a lot of training for them there. What is this talk about? This talk is to remind everybody in this room that coding is an art form. I'm going to start with a couple of quotes. So this is a quote from Y, where he said, "Not all code needs to be a factory. Some of it can just be origami." I find this quote semi-relevant and also somewhat not relevant. I think what Y was going for here was that code doesn't need to just do things, it can just be beautiful. I think code can do both. I think it can do things and be expressive and be beautiful at the same time. Here's a quote from Donald Knuth. "A programmer who subconsciously views himself as an artist will enjoy what he does and will do it better." And I full-heartedly agree with this. I think if when writing a code, you view yourself as an artist, as someone who is honing a skill to write beautiful code, the end result will be much greater. So first, I want to start with what is origami? How many of you know what origami is? Some hands. Okay. Origami is the art of folding paper. So I'm going to do a demonstration. I'm going to teach everybody in this room how to fold one thing. So here I have my sheet of origami paper, and I'm going to fold a stegosaurus. Stegosaurus. So this is what it looks like. If you don't see the stegosaurus, some imagination might be. Okay, so origami is art. Why is it art? Well, I think it's art because it's beautiful. It's also creative, and it's expressive. If you look at the origami of different artists, you will find that they express themselves differently. Some will make really complex insects. Some will make very geometric figures. It's very different across the spectrum. So what is programming? Well, I think programming is the art of writing code. Okay, so I think it's the art of writing code because code is art. It's beautiful, it's creative, it's expressive. I can look at code online, and sometimes I can tell who the artist of the code is just by how they arrange things, how they chose to represent the problem they were trying to solve. So you might ask, if code is art, how do you write beautiful code? Well, first you must start with simplicity. How do you make things simple? Right? Your code should be simple to understand, and I think that is the direction of beauty. When you write code that is simple to understand, that in itself is the beauty. So let's take a look at a piece of code that is not beautiful. So this is a piece of code from a guessing game, right, where the user has 3 tries to guess the number that the computer has chosen. And why isn't this beautiful? Well, I think it's not beautiful because I have to read a lot. There's a lot going on right here. It's hard to tell with a quick glance what's going on. So, having written this, I know internally, having written this, I know that really there's 3 things going on here. And so I know that at first I'm printing a welcome message, and then I'm playing the rounds, and then I'm displaying the result. So isn't this more beautiful? We've eliminated all of the extra stuff. I can look at this method and I can quickly tell what is happening. And for me, this is beautiful. It's small, it's simple, it's compact. I can tell what's going on, and I am a happy programmer. Now you might ask, from here we had that welcome message. It was just a single line, right? The puts welcome to the guessing game. Why did I make it a method instead of just inlining it, like so? And the answer is, I feel like you lose balance, right? When we have our code like this, it's very balanced. The flow is more natural. And if I decide later on to change what the welcome message has in it, maybe now it's more than one line, right? I would have to come back into this method and change this method, making it even more not beautiful. So I think I find the true beauty in balancing the code out like this. So the next step of writing beautiful code is dealing with complexity. Even though the code I wrote was simple, oftentimes you'll come across something that has to be complex. You have to represent something that's just not simple enough. So how do we find the balance between simplicity and complexity? Let's look at another code example. Here, this is a relatively small method, but I think it's a little complex. We're going through the number of rounds, and we're checking to see if the guess is correct. And we're setting an instance variable to say whether the user has won or not. And if they've won, we break out of the loop, because I don't want them to keep guessing if they've guessed the correct number. And otherwise, I print wrong. So how can I balance the complexity here to make this code more beautiful? So here's an attempt, right? Here I'm utilizing the beauty of Ruby in order to make my code simpler. So here you can see that I've used detect, right? So detect will run through each iteration until it finds something that is true, right? So if I call play round and play round returns true, then it won't continue and it'll return that the user has won. And down below, I've used the extract method pattern to pull out the concept of playing around into its own method. Now I'm being a little tricky here, so I will go into a little bit more detail about it coming up with some of the other things that we're doing. But you'll notice that if it was the correct yes, I return true. Otherwise, I just call puts wrong. And the trick I'm using here is that puts returns nil, and nil is falsy. So I don't know if that's good yet. I haven't decided whether or not I think that is beautiful code, but I think it's a move in the right direction. Well, let's talk about how to handle our beautiful code. And in order to understand how to write beautiful code, we need to have some constraints. So why do we need constraints? Well, let's talk about the constraints of origami as an art. So origami's constraints are as such. You must use a single sheet of paper. It must be in the shape of a square, and you must not cut the square. Well, let's talk about some code constraints. And I'm borrowing these code constraints from Sandy Metz. Methods can be no longer than 5 lines. Classes can be no longer than 100 lines. And methods cannot take more than 4 arguments. So let's take a look at the code that we wrote before. When I had this was clearly breaking those rules. This is definitely more than a 5-line method. And when I was in my search for beauty and modified it, I came up with this. Right, this is following all those rules. This is definitely less than 5 lines. This is a 3-line method. What about when I had this? When I had to play rounds? This was also more than 5 lines. So in my search for beauty, I modified it to this. Right? I used extract method to make 2 methods, one which is a single line method, and one which is 5 lines. All right, so we need to discuss when these rules are not easy to follow. What do we need to do? So let's talk about breaking the rules. You can see in this piece of origami, this is clearly using more than 1 sheet of paper. But in order to achieve this art, there was no way to fold this out of 1 sheet of paper. So you have to decide with what you are going for, when do you break the rules? So here's a quote from Pablo Picasso. "Learn the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist." So I want to come back to this method that I wrote before, where I was trying to follow the rules of making a 5-line method. I think I was being a little sneaky here with the puts method. And also, I'm not really telling the user when they were correct. So if I were to try and make this have the additional pieces of information, my method might look like this, where I'm printing correct and returning true, or printing wrong and returning false. But these are breaking the rules, so I have to decide, does it make sense to break the rule here? And I might say no, and make an attempt to fix this. So it might look like this instead. Right? If I play the round, if the guess is correct, I call correct guess. Otherwise, I call incorrect guess. Now, even though this is in my attempt to search for beauty, I do not find this beautiful. And the reason why is because in my game, I'm talking a lot about this idea of a guess. I don't think it makes sense in this guessing game class. So what I might do is pull all of the guess stuff out into its own class. And I'm pulling this concept out where I can then express everything in terms of those rules. Right? So I created a status method, which has the string correct or incorrect, and then I have a method that checks whether the guess is correct. And if I do this, then I can rewrite my play around method to look like this. So when I play around, I create a new guess, I print the guess's status, and then I ask if the guess is correct. All right, so let's pull this all together. How do we be an artist? Well, to be an artist, you must be inspired by others. Right? You can't be an artist by yourself. As much as you want to, you have to look to others in order to understand what you are doing. You can look at the repositories of people that you want to follow in order to determine, I like this code, I don't like this code, what can I learn from them? One way to easily be inspired by others is to surround yourself with talented artists. And I have the benefit of working at Thoughtbot, and I get to be surrounded by all of these talented artists every day. So I'm able to converse with them and understand whether or not my code is beautiful or ugly, and I can make decisions on what to do based on their feedback. I think feedback as an artist is really important. If you're just working by yourself, you don't know how others will view it. And as a programming artist, how others view your code is one of the most important things in programming. Another way to be an artist is to use well-known techniques. Right? And there are plenty of resources, both in book format and online format, to determine how to utilize these techniques and how to apply them to your code. The examples I have here are the Design Patterns book, which has been around for a long time, Clean Code, and a recent book, Practical Object-Oriented Design in Ruby, which is written by Sandy Metz, who I am borrowing my rules from. Another thing you need to do as an artist is have some way of measuring your improvement. And in order to measure my improvement, I like to use Code Climate. So Code Climate will rate all of your classes and give you an A to F rating. Now, I wouldn't say this is definitive end-all for yes, this is beautiful or it's ugly, but you at least have some kind of a metric to give you a direction to go into. So for example, I had a gem called Alchemist that I had written, and I wrote it a long time ago before I knew what I was doing, and it was very, very ugly. And I was able to use Code Climate in order to improve my class. You can see I have some Fs that went to As. I was very ashamed of those classes. But now I don't have to be ashamed anymore. I have a way of measuring my improvement as a developer. I think another important thing is to have feelings. I think that's one thing that a lot of developers forget, is that you have to have some emotional response to the code you wrote. Are you happy when you write it? Are you sad? Are you angry at the code? Are you making others angry at your code? Are you worried that they'll be angry? Do you think you're being sneaky? You do not want to be a sneaky coder. You want to find beauty, not hide the beauty. So you need to listen to your feelings when you are writing your code. I think that is the most intense and important thing about writing code. You also need to know when to break the rules. I think this is the hardest thing to do as an artist, because by breaking the rules, you have the opportunity to introduce ugly code. So you really have to decide when to do that. For me, as a developer at Thoughtbot, it's a little easier to know when to break the rules because I can ask somebody else, was it okay for me to break this rule? Do you agree with the reason I made this decision? If you're working by yourself, that's going to be a much harder choice to make. So my suggestion is if you're working by yourself, don't. Bring somebody else in, share your art form, and get feedback. And the most important thing is to have fun. We're all programmers here, and I think we all enjoy what we do. We need to remember that you're supposed to enjoy it. You're supposed to be having fun. So I think in the search for beauty in code, I've had the most fun writing my code. I enjoy it more. The end result makes me a happy developer. And being happy and having fun is the one thing that you should search for in the search for beauty. Okay, so it's a little short for a talk, but I want to do a promotion for Learn Prime. I'm an instructor at Thoughtbot, so I teach workshops along with other developers at Thoughtbot. And we have this thing called Learn Prime. It's a monthly subscription, and you get access to all of our content. So if you use the coupon code RubyKaigi, then you will get $20 off of your first month. Do we have any questions?
In your quest for writing beautiful code, very often it's always a trade-off. And in practical cases, when you're actually developing products, you have also to consider performance, readability. Well, I guess that part helps. But anyway, in your experience when writing actual code, can you really follow those rules? Do they really work? Or sometimes do you have to give up a little bit on that in order to get something that can be really used in production?
So on a project that I was recently working on, I started applying these rules religiously to everything we were doing with other developers as well. And what we found is, I think the main trade-off is that you end up calling more methods. But for the most part, those method calls aren't that expensive. And so I do think it's important to look at performance and kind of balance beauty and performance. And I think that's one of the situations that you might have to look at when knowing when to break the rules. You might find that even though the code is beautiful, it's not performant. Then you have to make a decision about when to break the rules. But I think in our current application that we've been building for 6 months now, 7 months now, we haven't really had to make any compromises. When things become not performant, we pull them out an additional layer of abstraction from the application so that they're talking to as few pieces as possible. But we still find ways to maintain the beauty. But I still think there are definitely going to be those cases that performance is going to be important, and you're going to have to find the balance. Other questions? All right, well, if there's no other questions, then we can go enjoy our bentos.